Nutcracker Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode for today. And now I have Mike, the CEO of Inflect. Mike,
Hello.
welcome. How are
Yeah.
you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Thank you very much for accepting to be my guest. I think we're going to have a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
First of all, tell me about Inflect. When the company started, how
Yeah.
big is the company?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Great. Yeah. We started in summer of 2016. We've got 26, 27 employees now. We just hired some people, so I can't keep count exactly.
Mhm.
But we built a marketplace for digital infrastructure.
Okay.
That's co-location, network services, cloud services. It's ironically one of the areas that's people forgot to build marketplaces for. So you have marketplaces for everything like used cars to airlines to stays overnight, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you don't have a marketplace for internet services. So that's what we built.
Yeah, that's true. How did you come up with the idea? Was it a problem that you were having, or how did you
Yeah.
find out?
And I think a lot of founders are driven by things they get annoyed by, right?
Mhm.
So I actually have been in the industry since 2000. I started my first company in 2002, which was a consulting company, just connecting buyers and sellers. And it became a thing where, we had very specific expertise. And if you didn't meet us, then you don't get the benefit of the expertise.
Yeah.
And being in the San Francisco Bay Area, we work with the Facebooks, the Twitters, Dropboxes, Netflixes of the world. That's took up our time, but everybody else need the same help. So the best way to get your expertise out there, relationships, your understanding of how the market works is to build a marketplace. So it actually was something we built for ourselves first to utilize, and then it became something that's all of our customers wanted as well.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. In your role in the company, you're the founder of the company, but
Yeah.
you describe it this is very interesting, you guys, like as a head cheerleader and janitor of the company.
Yeah. I mean, I think it becomes that's the universal truth, I think, of any CEO of any business, but especially a startup. Maybe you're not the janitor if
Yeah.
you're at a global scale business, right? Like
Yeah.
JP Morgan or something, but you certainly are that when you're starting out. And now you're always the one that people look for or look to when they need a little pick me up. If you're down, then everybody else is down.
Yes,
So you
that's
got to be
true.
up.
That's
And then, you do the job that nobody else can or will do sometimes. So
Yeah, that's so true. And then you lead by example, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you do, everyone else will do.
Yeah,
I
that's right.
totally agree
Yep.
with that. All right, that's amazing. And your customers are both sellers and buyers, right?
Yeah.
Or do you put anyone like in the let's say in the first place, or is it like a balanced approach towards both of them?
Yeah, I think that this is a good view into our philosophy, right? In a marketplace, everybody is actually your customer. So ours is generally speaking a two-sided marketplace of
Okay.
sellers of infrastructure and then buyers of infrastructure. And then there's the in between, like the brokers and consultants and system integrators and stuff like that. We're trying to connect the two as well. For us, it's a platform that's connecting all these people, so everyone actually is your customer.
Yeah.
We are in service to the transaction, to the deal,
Yeah.
which means that we give everyone tough love, but we also help everyone out. So when you're approaching your customer base, it's not the customer's always right. The customer might think they're always right, but it's your job to help them get to the right place.
Exactly.
So everybody's a customer.
Exactly. I love that. Love that. I think it's going to stay for the rest of the episode, what you just said. I love that.
Thanks.
Thank you. And we're here discussing the biggest challenge or the nut that you had to crack. What was that for Inflect?
Oh man, I mean, one of the first things really is that you're constantly learning, right? You really don't know everything, so it's a little bit of faking it till you make it. So you're constantly learning that stuff, and many times you're learning multiple things at once,
Mhm.
and sometimes they conflict. So I think from the perspective of just building a business, it's making sure that you can do all of the things that need to be done for the business. That's challenge one. Keeping everybody happy,
Yeah.
right? Or at least motivated is challenge two, right? And then all that's keeping yourself motivated. And I think a lot of founders rightfully fall into a black hole sometimes because it's very difficult, right? But you have to just fight through. And ultimately, it's being resilient and trying to find that source of resilience that will help carry you and the organization through.
Yeah.
Then as you grow, like we're global in scope now, I think like one of the major things to keep in mind is everybody's a little bit different. So just because you master the culture of your local market doesn't mean that that's going to translate to the next market.
Not at all,
Yeah, yeah,
actually.
yeah.
And how do you actually find the solution to the challenge that you just explained to me? What is it that you intentionally do to crack that nut?
Yeah. For me personally, because I think everybody's a little bit different. I had a pretty good network of people I can lean on. I lean on my wife, of course. So that's always strong. Family is great for support. But from a business perspective, if you can at least surround yourself somewhat with people who you can tap into, and I've been fortunate to know a bunch of early stage, high level founders in San Francisco, for instance, right? People that people would recognize. And you can always sit down and have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
I'm running into this challenge, or
Yeah.
how do you feel? One of the ironic things is, while I have some billionaire ish friends, right? Everybody thinks when we get together, it's like just having champagne and eating caviar. That never happens. All you do is you kind of talk about your problems. It's a group therapy session. So if you have that outlet and people you can bounce things off of, that's helpful. But ultimately, it's you. So you lean on the team, lean on the folks close to you, and try to get through it.
Yeah. And is your team like fully remote and diverse, right?
Yeah, we're kind of half and half. So in
Okay.
America, while we're based in San Francisco, we gave up our office a while back. So we have, I think, people in 7, 8, or 9 states now at this point in America. We have a person in Dublin in Ireland, and then we have an office in Warsaw in Poland. So our engineers, our dev team, they actually have an office. The rest of us business people, we're on the road anyways. So
Yeah, but how important is to meet with all of them or groups of
yeah.
people, and how do you manage that, like in person, let's say collaboration?
Yeah, you try your best, right? So
Yeah.
we try to do all hands when we can. We have this other concept called small hands, which
Mm-hmm.
is a subset of the company getting
Mm-hmm.
together. So I'll come to Europe 3 times a year, roughly. I go to Warsaw 3 times a year to see the team, and then a lot of the business folks I'll see them at conferences, and we'll extend, maybe invite some more people. That is the biggest challenge, right? So you're in the battle.
Yeah,
You have business to do, and then sometimes you realize like, wow, I haven't actually met this person I hired a year ago,
exactly.
and so it's one of those things where you have to be intentional about it. You have to be mindful about it. But like anything in a startup world, you take advantage of things that show up. So you have to be somewhat creative to make it work.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Actually, sounds very familiar. Your challenge, it's a challenge that I think every startup, especially fast-growing startups, are having.
Right?
But I think being remote is also like a strategic advantage
Yeah.
for some company if you
Yeah.
know how to use it. Do you agree? And do you have it like as an
Yeah.
intentional strategic vision?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to use a nerdy example, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
When we think of like internet infrastructure, a lot of times all of your computing power and all, your data is centralized somewhere in a
Yeah.
bunch of different places, right? But then the activity, your users are at the edge.
Mm.
So it's this constant. You got to design your network so you can bring data back and interact with people at the edge, process it, and take it back out. It's kind of like autonomous cars or something like that. They drive around,
Yeah.
data comes back. Well, same thing with the business, really. So the advantage of having people in markets that can actually be you can be agile, and they can go to shows, they can go to coffee with people, they could do what I like to call the dark smoky room activities of I'm going to meet somebody in their market for dinner. A lot of people don't do that. The challenge though is making sure you bring that data back,
Yeah.
right? And integrate it into the team. And I think that's been one of the bigger challenges as we went remote is making sure we still have that connectivity. So if something came up, we all knew about it, that people that need to know about it could find out about it and action on it. And that's
Yeah.
that's something you have to be very intentional about as well.
Yeah, yeah, you have to. And how do you measure success?
Mm,
Because we've been speaking a lot about culture, and that's my favorite topic, to be honest. I think it's very important, especially when AI is knocking on the door, everyone
yep.
forgetting about people connection. I think it's a mistake for
Yeah.
many of the companies. And I think you got it right.
Yeah.
But how do you measure success? How do you measure how successful you are in it?
Well, that's a multi-layered question, right? So I'm thinking a lot along bunch of different metrics. Of
Hmm.
course, cash money is a big.
Yes.
So, you have enough cash, you can pay for everything, right? So we haven't raised a round. We only did a seed round back in 2020. A lot of it was my own money, so whatever. But we have not had to raise a round,
Yeah.
so that's success, right? We've been able to scale up the business thusly. I think there's other things that you look at, right? So you set out to solve something, and you identify what the problems are, and after a while, you're looking at, oh, that's no longer a problem. So bit by bit, like example, in our world, we build our marketplace is essentially for utilities.
Yeah.
And these people are like, you have to come to me to get the
Yeah.
data. You have to come to me to buy. And they say things like, oh, you'll never get my data.
Yeah.
You'll never get my pricing. We'll see. And bit by bit, you're like, well, I got your data. I got your pricing. And now we don't reach out to people that much anymore. They reach out and say, hey, my data is wrong in your marketplace. That was one of the first signs of real success is people found us to say, I need to be here and I'm not here right or
Yeah.
correctly. So that's one. I think another one that's interesting for me anyways, is when you go to a conference, at first people are like, why are you here? Right? Like this is an investor conference or service providers or whatever. Why are you here?
Yeah.
And after a
why
while, they're
I'm
like,
here.
oh, hey, good to see you. And they expect you to be there.
Yeah.
So there's qualitative and quantitative aspects you look at that measure success.
Amazing. 2 more questions for you,
Sure.
I promise. Very quick ones.
So good.
So, the first one is, if time and money weren't an issue, which country would you expand to next?
Oh, wow. Time, money, and resources. It's interestingly enough, I think it's almost regional in
Mhm.
some ways. I am very intrigued about the Middle East right
Okay.
now. I'm also, being American, I'm treading on interesting levels here, but I think parts of Asia, I think China is something you cannot ignore. But I think the Middle East is a very interesting one because China's always kind of been there, right?
Yeah.
The pivot that the Middle East is making right now to really get into digital infrastructure and the next waves of AI and the sheer amount of resources they have, including power, right? I mean, they have so much energy. That's an interesting place to look at. But they also have, I would still say, some restrictive ways of thinking. Like, I don't blame them, but if you're doing business in certain countries in the Middle East, your information has to be there.
Yeah.
It cannot be hosted elsewhere.
Exactly.
So it's an interesting nuance that we're looking forward to. So I'd say that probably the Middle East.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last one. If you have to use 3 words, what is the key to scaling successfully?
Let's see. 3 words, huh? Don't give up.
Okay. Don't give up.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
That's really it.
Thank you very much, Mike. I just
You.
have to finish this podcast, you guys, with something beautiful that you said. The customer might not always be right, but it's your job to make them right. Amazing. Thank
Sure.
you so
Thank
much
you so
again
much.
for being here. And I wish you really a successful journey ahead
Likewise.
with your company.
Really
Thank
appreciate it. Thank
you.
you.
Go global, not nuts.